Morning, everyone.
Morning.
We're here again for another episode of Transcending Consciousness. I'm Tim,
And I'm Casey.
and for this week, we will now discuss family relationships.
Actually, this is a very good topic because we all know that families around the world have their own difficulties or challenges. Each family members they face challenges within the family itself. So we have to shed light on this and how to understand the situation and how can we transcend ourselves and overcome these challenges. So Tim, what are your thoughts on this?
So, since we've already discussed reincarnation, so you actually choose your family members who you embody in your lifetime. And the main factor is, of course, karma. So you have karma with that person. May it be that you've done something bad to that person, or that person have done something bad to you in the past life. So you need to balance the karma, and therefore you were embodied at, together in a certain family. So that's why you can see some families when there are feuds between the family members, the parents versus the children, or siblings quarreling around because they have this unresolved psychology. So in effect, you actually don't consciously choose these family members, but you have the law of the universe dictates that you need to embody within the group of family members to resolve the conflicts that you have, the karma that you have with each other. And therefore, once you've resolved it, then you can move on.
So what Tim is actually saying is that this is not our first time to be on this earth. This is not the first time that we meet or we belong in this type of family or in this culture. So in the past, we have been together for a very long time. We have committed all negative things to each other. So these negative things act like a negative magnet, or for example, a negative potential. So once you have a negative potential created towards another person, we cannot really ascend to the spiritual realms permanently. So we need to address that negative potential driving us back to on this earth. So for example, in the past, I committed crime. For example, I accidentally killed someone. So I created this tremendous negative energy towards that person. And the only way for me to repay, to correct that negativity is for us to become family members. For example, I'm the parent, so I'm given the opportunity to become a parent towards that person. Because in the beginning, when a child is born, you know, love will automatically go out to that person. You will care for that baby. You will care for him to grow into a good person. So you have that opportunity to balance the tremendous amount of negativity. So it is really a blessing for parents to balance their negativity towards their children. So, however, since our society they do not teach us this, what happens is that because of our old behavioral patterns from the past that we are still carrying today, suddenly, slowly but surely, conflicts will arise within the family. More negativity are created instead of correcting the negative things we have done to each other. Because society, most of our societies today, they do not believe in reincarnation. So they don't teach about karma and how to resolve karma. So that's why more families are, as the children grow up, parents and children start to quarrel. They have petty fights, arguments until slowly they destroy their relationship with each other. So yeah, that's one point on how we can hopefully understand the situation.
And another point is sometimes you need to embody the specific family because you volunteered to show that show a light, show something different to the family than what is accepted in uh, the traditional um, makeup of that family. So I think a very good example in the Philippine setting is in, Gina Lopez. So Gina Lopez is a highly spiritual person who takes care of the social justice. So in her short term as the DNR secretary, she cannot be bribed, she cannot be talked to or be convinced to not give what is appropriate to the people. So she embodied in a very influential family so that to show them a spiritual life or a spiritual aspect of the society. So that could be also another reason for familial relationship that you volunteer to be a guiding light to a certain life stream, to a certain group of people to show them what um, what another aspect of life could be. So what the spiritual life could be. And another aspect is you might need that family for fulfilling your divine plan. So Jesus was embodied with Mother Mary and Saint Joseph, and they molded him to prepare him for his divine plan to become the Christ during that time. So with Mary having achieved a high level of consciousness, was able to teach Jesus, her child, about certain universal concepts about life, about the spirituality. And because of this, Mary became also that nudge in the wedding of Cana, that nudge for Jesus to start his ministry.
Remember, as Tim said, Mother Mary already attained a very high spiritual level of consciousness. So she was able to understand what was her divine plan during her last lifetime on earth. And her divine plan was to hold the immaculate vision or concept of Jesus, meaning it doesn't mean that Jesus, came out of this miraculous conception without a father. Meaning, Mother Mary knew what Jesus' divine plan at that time. So she held that vision as Jesus was growing. She was the guide for Jesus to when she saw Jesus deviating from his divine plan. Mother Mary would step in to remind him of his plan for his last lifetime as Jesus. So Mother Mary was holding the immaculate concept, the immaculate vision, the divine plan of vision, because that was his mission. So remember, guys, we are not born here accidentally into this family. We already know each other from previous lifetimes, and we have lessons to give to each other, from parents to children and children to their parents. Each of us, as we mentioned in our previous discussion with love relationships, our family members will show us what we need to transcend in ourselves. The negative behavioral patterns we have accumulated not in this lifetime, not only in this time, but in our previous lifetimes. So these negative behaviors, they will indirectly show us what we need to do. So yeah, it's very important for us to realize, oh yes, I have this negative behavioral pattern that my mother is pointing out to me, or my father, or my brother, my sister. So it's very important for us to change, so we can, as a family, evolve together spiritually.
So the importance is the purpose of life is growth. So the purpose also of having your parents, your children, the purpose of the family is also the growth in consciousness. And it's important to always be an open mind. So whatever they are looking at, your faults and your misgivings. So that is an impetus for you to grow because you are not aware of this hang-ups that you have, but they made it more aware. And sometimes in families, they can amplify your negativity or negative karma, and therefore force you to look at it and finally resolve it.
Another thing also I would like to share with you is that we all have the tendency to rebel to authorities. For example, as a child, I sometimes did not follow my parents. And we all have that trait. Right? We all have that trait of not listening to a higher source or to a higher authority. So what happens is that most of the time, when parents they ground children or when they scold the children, it means that they have experienced already something that they do not want their children to experience. So when we do not want to listen to another, to a higher authority, we will experience, maybe in the future, we will experience a negative return of our current behavior. Because our current behavior will lead to certain experiences. Okay, so if we do not change, our parents they already know what will happen. So in order for us to avoid it, so if we do not listen to them, if we keep on doing things our way, in the future we might experience those negative consequences of our current behavioral patterns. So yes, still the purpose of life is for us to grow, to learn, to change, to transcend ourselves, so that we can avoid having to experience those negative or those unpleasant experiences in the future.
So let's go back to the Holy Family about the Immaculate Concept that Casey mentioned. This is actually a very good concept because if you look as parents, when you have a child, it's important that you visualize the Immaculate Concept for your children, so their highest potential in this lifetime. And for us more spiritually aware, so this would help not only the child in um, finding out his divine plan, but also you yourself will grow by looking at your decision in giving birth to this life stream. And it's important that as even if they're unruly, they're quote unquote bad children, so you always in your mind visualize the Immaculate Concept. And in time, you will help them achieve what they need to achieve in this lifetime. As children, on the other hand, especially if you are born to a family that's not spiritually inclined, so it's important to maintain a healthy relationship with your parents and offer them your insights on life and spirituality. But there's always we should never force anything. We should inspire others, inspire our family members. But even if they're not receptive to whatever insights that we are giving them, we simply just let it go. Still maintain that relationship with that person, able to go out on family dinners or watch movies and talk about life, but don't force your beliefs to others. So either way, as parents or as children, you should not force your belief on other people because we are here for our own subjective experience, and it's important for everyone to grow according to what they plan or what they decide to do.
So another thing, Tim, what Tim meant was we should not force our beliefs or our goals for our children, because I remember when I was a child, my parents they always tell us, you should you should become a doctor or a lawyer when you grow up, so that you will have a stable source of money or income. So yeah, sometimes you see the children, they have their innate abilities. So children will have different abilities. One is good in arts, or one in music, or one in mathematics, in academics. So it depends on what the children, they have this inner sense of what they want to be. So as parents, we should actually nurture their natural talents instead of, you should do this or become a scientist, or you should become a doctor. So yeah, that's what it was actually mentioning.
Regarding family, it's important not to force your release. And as Casey mentioned about, parents always dream that, they're, especially in our setting, you're hoping their children to be very successful, so be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, without looking at what that child wants, what's in his divine plan, what he's good at. So when we say immaculate concept, it's not actually preconceived notions. Like sometimes maybe you would misinterpret that this is like you're visualizing that your child will grow up as a doctor, will have his own clinic, would have a hospital with a lot of patients. So the immaculate concept is not like that. So when we say immaculate concept, it's just simply visualizing the highest potential for your child without, putting up this preconceived images in your mind. So it's just the highest potential, but you are unattached whether that highest potential is that child becoming a doctor, or that child simply living as an artist or any other profession. So this may be one of the pitfalls that you will have as parents if you view the immaculate concept to be something of your own making. Remember that the divine plan was made by that child and not you, and therefore you simply hold an immaculate image of whatever that future is without interposing your own mental image.
When we try to understand our divine plan, society did not teach us how to do it. So we actually need to train ourselves to meditate, to connect from within God or within life or the source, to expand our consciousness, so that we can slowly but surely understand what is our purpose in this life. Then once we train ourselves in this spiritual path, slowly you will have an idea what is your purpose. And then slowly you will also have an idea what is your purpose for your children. So we need to develop that habit of meditating, of connecting with God from within, from our higher selves, so we can know our immaculate plan or divine plan for us and for our children. So yeah, that's in an ideal society, we should all be doing this. And then once we have our own families, then we know how to apply. However, okay, since most of us do not know how to meditate, how to connect from our higher selves, we can actually, by just simple observation, we can actually see what is our purpose right now. We can actually see glimpses. For example, in my current family, with our current behavioral patterns, that's already a sign that what we need to correct from each other. For example, uh, in a family with the parents are very worried. So meaning the worry of those parents, those are the things that they need to transcend in themselves. And the children that are not listening, those are the signs, the things that they need to let go. So yeah, we should always try to be observant of our behavioral patterns and our children's behavioral patterns. And then that is already a clue of what we need to do in this life.
I guess that's it for family relationships. And it's just important to take note that your family members are their own life stream. You do not own them, they do not own you. You are well, as a parent, you are responsible for your children, but only to a certain extent. You're not supposed to be responsible for them throughout their lifetime. So you're inspiring them, you're taking care of them as a child so that they can grow to fulfill their divine plan as an adult.
There's one issue I believe most people, most family experience is. What's the term for sumption in English? What the parents always say to their children, I gave you this, I gave you, I, I made you study in this school, I gave you this car or all your needs, and then in return you will do this to me. But yeah, so most family members they experience this. But for those parents out there, because as we said, no, our children they gave us the opportunity to repay what we have incurred to them negatively. So there's no need for us to tell those things. "Oh, I did this for you. I sacrificed my life for you," because those are the things that we need to repay what we have incurred for them. And being and those our children, those life things, they chose us to become parents so that we can have that opportunity to repay those things, our negative things we have done, and for us to hopefully evolve or ascend in the near future.
Nice concept, Casey. So, as spiritual people, you should be aware that you give to your children out of that, not as your insurance. So your children is not an insurance, so that when you grow old, they will take care of you. So you're taking care of children is of your own volition, of your own voluntary, sincere um, effort of rearing them, bringing them back here, not as your insurance for the future. I remember, Khalil Gibran have a famous poem called "The Prophet." That your children are not your children; they are the sons and daughters of the universe.
We do not own them, and at the same time, they do not own us.
Yeah. So their thoughts, their emotions are not yours to dictate. So I think that's a very important point in familiar relationship.
So always remember, guys, that in the family we have the opportunity to grow, okay, and we should take advantage of it. We should correct the things that we need to correct within ourselves, so that finally we can ascend in this lifetime or in the future lifetimes permanently.
Okay. Thank you for listening to this episode.